Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. McCoy, by any chance, do you know of a case involving a Mr. John Mitchell?
I'm familiar with Mr. Mitchell, yes.
Okay. Why is he not receiving aid in attendance?
I would say that we could, I'd be happy to have myself and our compensation service folks sit down and have a deeper conversation. I think the overall answer is that the evidence that we reviewed in that case doesn't substantiate entitlement to that benefit. And I know that there has been a lot of back and forth on that case. I personally have asked our headquarters experts to make sure we did it right, and we've done that a couple of times. So we are not finding entitlement based on the evidence we have.
We admit that John Mitchell is a veteran and that he served in special operations for over 20 years. There's no doubt about that biographical part of his service, correct?
Sir, I'm not that intricately familiar with his particular case. I know that we have had multiple reviews and a lot of conversation.
Okay, but you're not even willing to admit that he served in the military. You came here, you admit that you know his case.
Yes.
And you're not even willing to, you're not intimately involved in his case enough to even vouch that he served in the military.
On the spot in this moment, I don't know those intricacies. I believe he did, but I did not rate the case.
Okay, so just imagine this. You serve for over 20 years in the military, you're in special operations, you deploy into combat. You suffer a traumatic brain injury after a 1,250-foot parachute fall. You're involved in a military vehicle accident. You are, at the point now, legally blind, and you desperately need aid in attendance, and you completely qualify for it. After suffering multiple military injuries connected to your service, serving your country, willing to lay down your life for it, and you reach out for help. And despite meeting all of the legal obligations, all the legal requirements to qualify for aid and attendance, after serving your country for over 20 years, you can be watching a video where a House Veterans Affairs Committee is speaking with the representative from the Department of Veterans Affairs on this topic of the handling of paperwork and taking care of our veterans, and never wanting to tell a veteran that there's been any type of mishandling of your paperwork. And I'm asking you about his case. You acknowledge that you know of his case, and even though this has been brought up at past Veterans Affairs Committee hearings, I can't even get you to admit that he served our country. Now, just imagine if you're at home, and after serving, your country for literally decades, and deploying into combat, you can't even get the Department of Veterans Affairs to acknowledge that you served, let alone the fact you have to live your entire life with traumatic brain injury from a parachute fall and a military vehicle accident. That's how you personalize what this isn't just about paper. I'm offended on behalf of my constituent. I thank him for his service. I'm willing to not only acknowledge that he served our country, but that his traumatic brain injury that he suffered as a result of it, which qualifies him for this benefit, at the very least at this point, in June of 2016, after everything he's gone through trying to get this approval, maybe the Department of Veterans Affairs can at least acknowledge that he served. That right there was one of the most, if not the most offensive answers I've heard in any committee hearing that I've been in. And if you put yourself in the position of John Mitchell, I implore you, please, at the end of this committee hearing, to relook at his paperwork, because everything is there to get this man the help that he needs. And at the very least, at this point, after what we just witnessed with the answer to that question, I think the Secretary owes John Mitchell an apology and a thank you for his service. At the very least, your department can acknowledge he served.